Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Grima, Nightside, out February 28th on Napalm Records. The album has 10 tracks, 48 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are a Siberian atmospheric black metal band. When it comes to the design of this album, this record has a clear vision for what it wants of itself. It's an album that's well composed, that it's put together from a structural standpoint with a clear idea of beginning, middle, and end. This, in my humble opinion, really helps the experience of the overall record. It helps the listener navigate through it. You feel a lot more connected, you feel a lot more enthralled by the overall experience that the album offers when all the right pieces are in the right places. You get the right pauses, the right ebbs and flows, the right climax. This album really helps you understand where you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. Great design enhancing the overall quality of the record itself. When it comes down to the sound, this is obviously an atmospheric black metal record, but not only that. It's an album that also has a lot of melodic black metal elements and a lot of folk elements. These two are the nuances that really allow this album to be textured, to have depth, to have width, and to also be very rich in the overall soundscape that it provides. Had this been just an atmospheric black metal album, it would allow the record perhaps to be a little bit more linear, to be a little bit more straightforward, depending a lot more heavily on the atmosphere to create different nuances from song to song. The way this album presents itself, the elements that are outside of that spectrum are really the ones impacting the mobility of the songs. They're impacting the dynamic, the flow, the ups and downs, and the different experience that each track can give. One thing stays consistent. The overall atmosphere of this album is very dark and very somber. And it's somber regardless of how bright the sound is, how melodic the sound is, or how heavy the sound is. Even when you introduce folk elements into the overall mix, you still feel like those elements, while bringing melody into the forefront, it's not a joyful melody. It's a very dark, somber, sinister melody, which plays really well with the overall vibe that this record has. So it's an album that uses different elements to create a very solid, consistent experience from beginning to end. But the use of a variety of elements is what makes the record dynamic and is what allows this album not to sound or feel repetitive. Speaking a little bit more deeply in terms of those elements, I really have to mention the folk elements first and foremost. I enjoy them tremendously on this record, but I think the most important lesson to take is that they're not present consistently on every single song. They're not the drivers of the tracks. They're not the go-to as far as what do you want out of a track. They're there to enhance the songs. They're there to give it more texture. They're there to help define a lot better the atmosphere and play that atmosphere off of the lyrical content of the songs. They have a very deep impact, even though they are subtle at times and they're just sprinkled throughout the record. Outside of that, you have the more traditional drum and guitar sound. The guitars on this album sound really good. They actually surprise me by how diverse they are, from acoustic guitars to more penetrating, dark black metal sounding riffs, to a little bit more chunkier guitar sounds, to just melodic pieces that really bring some energy into the songs. This album offers a lot of different looks as far as the guitar sound is concerned, and that really helps the album have a good momentum and have a lot of different ideas and express those ideas really well on a track-by-track basis. When it comes to the drums, I found the drums to be a lot more consistent, to be a lot more grounded, to really help bring the back end of the record a sense of security, a sense of comfort, without changing too much. And the album kind of needed that. Any record always needs something that brings consistency into the forefront so that other elements can be a lot more dynamic. On this record, the drums sonically definitely do that, and then you have the vocals on the vocal side providing the same sort of experience, because the vocals are very consistent. The harshness of the vocals, the style and the delivery of the vocals, it changes here and there on a song here and there. For example, Mist and Fog is a track where the vocal performance, while still being very heavy, very harsh, it comes in from a deeper place, and that changes the perception of the vocals all around. but these little nuances on a song-by-song basis do not really jolt what the overall experience, what the overall consistency of the vocal performance is. And when you put all of these pieces together, you have a record that is not defined by what you got from the singles. I actually feel like the singles that they released do not paint a vivid picture of what this album is all about. Because in my opinion, after listening to the record is worth for its whole a lot more than what the singles can offer. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Beyond the Dark Horizon. The melodic layers on this track are really interesting because the melodic layers intertwine perfectly with the guitars and drums, and this creates an overall sinister atmosphere. It's not just one element, but rather the combination of several different elements in order to create that more noticeable, that more palpable atmosphere. And I really like the melodic side of the song because I think it's an important element that diffuses a little bit of the heaviness, a little bit of the grit that the track has, allowing other elements to be more consistent as far as the heaviness is concerned, the vocals being one of them. And the track overall really feels like an avalanche. It's coming at you fast, it's wide, it's a very wide track, and it also has depth to it. So it's a song that has a lot of size, that's what I'm trying to say. And the guitar solo section closing off the track, while being very melodic, it doesn't necessarily narrow or thin things out. It just adds to the atmosphere that the song had all the way through, enhancing that dark, sinister vibe that the track has. Next we have Curse of the Void. I really like this track. It has a great guitar melody that it opens up the song. Then they added acoustic guitars in order to enhance that same melody, stripping down the track even more, becoming almost creating a sense of loneliness. This track really has a sense of emptiness, of loneliness, and that idea in the mind of the listener is created with the way the song starts off. The acoustic guitars really help define that state of mind. Then the track moves into a much heavier sound with heavier vocals. The melodic piece that opened up stays until the song completely explodes, and that melodic piece dissipates in the overall heaviness that the track has from a vocal standpoint, but also from a musical standpoint. The song becomes a little bit bigger with a lot more to offer. This allows some of the simpler elements to still find some room to shine, but it's not about those simpler elements. It's about the song gaining momentum and becoming a lot bigger until you start to see the track lose some of that momentum and start to build in those moments of clarity within it. It's a really interesting track in terms of how it takes you from that acoustic guitar opening all the way to the end. It's a track that evolves quite a bit throughout. Last but definitely not least, Mist and Fog. I mentioned already the vocals on this track, and I think the vocals are definitely one of the interesting points about the song. The other interesting point about this song is that the song opens up in a very calm, with a very calm and dark melody, and then it closes off with that same sort of experience. So this is a track that goes full circle. As it starts is as it ends. In between, you have a track that has a lot of folky elements in it, a lot of folky melodies in it. It has heavier sound, and the heavier sound comes through when that folk piece is also integrated into that heaviness. So it's really interesting because it feels like there's two elements that wouldn't go together, but the way they pair them up really allowed for the song to feel overall a lot richer. And then you have the vocals. The vocals on this track sound very unique to this track. Almost like you're lost in this mist, in this fog, and the voice feels at a distance. The vocal performance on this track really feels at a distance, still heavy, but at a distance, not as much in the forefront as you're going to find out throughout the entire album. So it's a track that has a lot of uniquenesses to it, the way the folk elements are presented in the heaviest portion of the song, the way the vocals come from a much deeper place within the mix, the way the song starts is the way the song ends. All of these are unique characteristics to this track. This is it. Grima, Nightside, out February 28th on Napalm Records. Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you all at the next one. Take care, guys.